Hello guys, welcome back to Solid Motion VFX. We'll do a quick tutorial again with the FumeFX, and I want to show you two techniques on creating a particle system for tornado setup. So the first one will be with a basic emitter, and the second one is actually a technique I learned from cinema4dtutorials.net, and it's using Xpresso and Thinking Particles. So a little bit more advanced, but easy to set up, and you'll actually, I think, when you go with that setup, you'll get a much more realistic look. So that's the one you're gonna go with when you're gonna play with yourself, when you're gonna do the settings. But it's gonna be a easy particle system where it flows from top to bottom. We're gonna do some rotation in there, and for the compositing, I'm gonna leave that to yourself because I'm not the big compositor, but you're gonna use whatever you use. New, go After Effects. I would use After Effects, and then just do some color correction, a little camera shake here, make some particle debris, dust coming out of here. So you can see, just make sure that you also have some rotating skies here, just to make it a bit more live. When I'm gonna do another tutorial with using the second particle setup I'm gonna show you, then I'm gonna do the whole tutorial with including the compositing in After Effects, where I'm gonna do debris, maybe even cars or house being destroyed. It's gonna be an epic one. So let's jump into cinema and start working on the particle system. So first we'll create a basic emitter system here. Turn it around negative 90 degrees, play it, yep, move a little back here, put it up here, and we're gonna change some settings here. So let's just say 900 here, 900 here, and we want some speed in there as well, and it should stop after 400 frame, which is basically the length of the timeline here. So now we have this look. Go into simulate, and let's add in a force, rotate force here. And for the rotate force, the rotation object is down here. Let's give it a negative 90 here. Play that. Go back and play that. Yeah, so now we have this rotating effect, and you can play with the speed, and you can see from the top view, you can see that it's definitely creating this vortex kind of shaping going on here. Alright, so in the emitter, let's see here, for the lifetime, the speed, let's have a variation of 30% here, and the emitter type, it can be as big as you want, and the angle will keep that as well. So now we're gonna add in a turbulence force. So add in a turbulence force and give it a value of 60 centimeters, just to introduce a little bit of turbulence going on there. Yeah. So I think we have the motion we want, and of course you can always go into the emitter, and if you think the speed is too fast, you can always slow this down depending on what look you are going for. Then it starts really good, but then just taking count of your turbulence. If you do this, then go in and lower down your turbulence. Okay, so we go back to the speed of, let's just say 200 for now. Let's play it again. Yeah, that looks good. Okay, so let's just play it here, see when it's gonna hit the ground here. Let's go in and add a FumeFX grid, and on the viewport, enable, and for the general, let's go in and size it up, and the height, we want to cover the whole thing here, like so. And right now you can just bump up the spacing so we can have a faster sim. And remember to go in and choose a default path for where your simulation cache is going to be, because when you lower the spacing to increase the detail, then it's going to definitely fill up some of that storage space you have. So inside, and then let's see here, let's add a particle source, and we'll add in the emitter. Right now you can see there are very little the dots, so Let's try 5 centimeters, 4, and let's see how well it has the simulation. Yeah, it still has that rotating. Actually, so we could say 4.5. Yeah, so 4.5. Go into your FumeFX object source, the particle source there. Now let's go into simulation quality, bump that up. When we have fast moving particles, we want the quality up. We want to make sure that we catch the particles as it goes. So to make sure that we catch this, we need to bump up the simulation steps. So I'll do 4 as minimum, 5 as maximum here. The advection stride, we can lower that down to 0.2. And let's see here, X turbulence, we don't want any of that. Scale, let's put that to 10. Details levels up, and let's just, I mean, depending on if you wanted to collide with the floor, but for this purpose we're not going to touch this. But remember, in your final composite in After Effects, you need to figure out what kind of effect you want when it hits the ground. So that should be, you know, dust and waves, debris just flying around. Simulate smoke, yes, but in the smoke buoyancy, bump that down to 0. Displacement medium 0. For the temperature and buoyancy, 0 as well. We don't want the smoke to move as it's spinning around. So for the simulation part, I think that's good for now. Then for the rendering, we don't have fire. For the smoke, do whatever color you want. And opacity, lower that down to 0.5. And then of course also add 2 light sources. And make sure to enable the ray traced harden on shadows. Like so. Go back to your FumeFX. And in the illumination, bring in those lights. 220, enable multiple scattering, fall off 12, and the fire 0. Actually fall off 15, let's do that to give it some more contrast. So the illumination, object source, everything is in here, even the default path, we have chosen that, and the output range is also 400 frames. Yes, it is. And then just choose default output path here. And then basically from this point you should be ready to start simming. So this is just the basic setup on this first particle system. If we do a quick simulation here, we can see how it's catching along the particles and they're moving. And right now we have a pretty low sim, so just keep in mind that when you do this, that you have to, before you go for final sim, you're gonna lower the spacing value pretty much high down to get a good detailing, and that's gonna mean it's gonna really take some time to simulate. So let it sim overnight, guys, then you should be good to go. Alright guys, this next setup I want to use Thinking Particles with Xpresso. So let's jump into this. So we go to simulate again, Thinking Particles. We're gonna be using the geometry for a later tutorial. Actually, I'm gonna show you something cool with that. So for now, let's go in and create a node, and we just name this tornado, and we want to assign a Xpresso tag on that, like so, and bring in the tornado here to the Xpresso. And right click, new node, go to Thinking Particles, and we want the P storm. This is the one generating the particles you want to see here. So let's see what we have here for the coordinates. We want global position, and we also want global matrix. And here we want emitter alignment, emitter position to position, and emitter alignment to global matrix, like so. And actually let's see if we can dock this up here. like so. And if we just give it some more playground to play with here, let's see what we have now. So just particles shooting up. So let's go in and take our knoll here, and can we make it a cube XY, and let's just see if we go on ahead. So we need to rotate this, so negative 90 degrees. Yep, we can do with that. Let's get actually that out of the way so we have more playground here. And let's just the knoll, let's move that up a little bit. And this is what we have now. Okay, so we'll have to go in and choose our P storm, and then we're going to change some settings here at the P storm. Okay guys, so for the P storm settings we want the count, it's going to be way up. So the count, let's just do 3000 here on the count, and the live we say 150, live variation 60, speed 115, speed variation, let's give it a 10 on the speed variation. Size, we can keep that as it is, and then we want 0 degrees here on the X and Y axis. Let's see what we got now. So now we just got these particles just raining down on us. Okay, so let's open up Xpresso again and right click, new node, Thinking Particles. Let's see here, new node, Thinking Particles, and what we are looking for is a group. So is it in standard P group? Here it is. And we're gonna connect this P storm to this group. So let's see what we have here. Particle birth, this one we want to connect to P group like so. And then you go over to custom and TP settings, and in the TP right click and choose add, and we'll just call this red group 1, for example. You can call it whatever you want and give it a red color like so. And this red, you're gonna click on it and drag it over to your group like so. So now you have this little group here defined. So what we're gonna do now is check the red group, and then we're gonna actually use that for modifying this particle. Okay, so we'll go in and do a plane object. Let's position it just around here, and let's call it floor, make it editable like so. And let's open here, and then we go and say new node, Thinking Particles, and inside the Thinking Particles, let me see here. So we're gonna do a new node here, and Thinking Particles, and it's a P-pass. Let's expand this a little bit, and let's see here. For the P-pass, we're gonna drag in our group 1 here, like so. So now we have inside this P-pass red group 1. Okay, and let's see here. Then we're gonna do a new node again, and we're gonna go to Thinking Particles, and we're gonna look for deflector. So let's see, where do we have that? Here. Let's expose this a little bit as well. And let's drag in our floor into the deflector. And let's then connect these two nodes like so. And then on the floor, make sure that your deflector type is set to object. Let's actually see. Now we should have red particle, and they should, yep, they interact with the floor because we assigned it as a deflector. Let's see it again. They hit the floor and they get bounced up, and the bounce is down here set to 100. You can play with that later. I'm just showing you the quick setup here. Okay, so now let's go in for the actual rotation. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna create a new null again and name it rotation, like so. And for this rotation, let's bring it up on the floor like so. And what we're gonna do here is actually we're gonna use this to drive the spinning rotation for the tornado effect. So we're gonna make some keyframes. So at frame 0 here, add a keyframe on it here. Then I'll go to frame 200, and then you're gonna play with the rotation. So let's just say 2000 for this one. Go back, play the animation. Yeah. So what we want to make sure here is also make sure it's a linear flow. So go into your timeline, F curve, and then can you just Control A, select all of that, and go up to this linear, like so. Now we should have a constant speed from start to end. Yeah, definitely. So that's the look we're going for. Okay, so back into the Xpresso here. Now we'll go in and we'll bring a new node and go into Thinking Particles, and then we're gonna go Dynamics. In the Dynamics, and we want this P motion inherence. So let's expose that. Come on, getting these handled correct. And let's position it above the floor here. And we'll also connect this to the red group like so. And what we want to put here is actually the rotation null, like so. And let's see if it has any influence. Yes, it has, as you see there. It has actually a really good influence. So go up to your tornado again and lift it a little bit more high up, and actually let's do a very subtle animation on this. So at this keyframe, it is here, and then we go to, let's just check 200 again. We go very slightly over here at a keyframe. And then you can of course go back again, add another keyframe like so. Perfect. I like the look of this, guys. Alright guys, so after playing a little around with the animation speed, what I found out was that on my keyframe 200, I changed the value from 2000 to 4000, and you're gonna play with that until you get that V shape, because when you open up your Thinking Particles here, then click on this P motion inherence, and then you get this interface up, and then just log it down here, because every time you need to have this open again, you need to open this tag and go into Xpresso and then highlight the tag, and then it's going to open here. But if you click elsewhere, it's going to go another way. But this is the value that's going to actually drive the inherence from the speed of this rotation null here. So when you play with this value, the 40%, it's works together with the value you set on the rotation of the null. So when I set it to 40, let's see what we have now. You see that? We have this round shit up here, and then it goes down in this V shape. Let's see, 60%. What does it do then? Yeah, you get this nice swirling effect. This looks actually really good. And then what you can do is add in this particle source, and immediately it goes in and grabs it. You see that? So particle source, remove the key here, particle source again, and then you see there's the red group. Otherwise you would have to go into the Xpresso tab here, or to simulate Thinking Particles settings, and then from here you would have to drag red group and just drag it and release it down here. And here I would play with radius as well. I would do 3, and then actually use the same settings as for the other setup I showed you. And using this setup, this will give you the most accurate result when you want to go in and actually making in the tornado. So I would definitely say use this when you're ready to move on to do an advanced tornado effect using Cinema 4D. And I will do that in a later tutorial. So guys, just remember, if you like FumeFX tutorials, please go into the channel and look at the 21 plus tutorials I've made just for FumeFX using Cinema 4D. And I will create a lot more on this, so please subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And give me a thumbs up if you like the video, if you learned something, and I'll be looking forward to see what kind of tornado effects you come up with. I will definitely use this second particle system because it has the looks, and then go into After Effects and just do all your composited in there and really come up with some nice stuff. So definitely there's a lot to do with this effect here. So guys, thank you for watching, and see you next time. Bye.